My housemate is dead. I know it. But everyone around me, my roommates, the police, even random passers-by if I were to ask them, pretends she's still alive. It's not just strange. It's terrifying. It feels like I've stumbled into some nightmare where reality is splitting at the seams, and I'm the only one who notices it falling apart. Has anyone ever experienced something like this? Or am I losing my mind? It all started a week ago, though if I think about it, the shadow of this horror began creeping in even earlier. I live in an old house with 4 roommates: Jess, Lily, Dane, and Miguel. The house creaks at night. Its walls are covered in cracks, and the basement always smells of dampness and something faintly rotten, elusive. Lily is the one I'm talking about. I'm almost certain she's dead, but the others insist she's just pretending. At first I thought so too. Lily always had her quirks. She's withdrawn, quiet as a shadow. Sometimes when she's upset or wants to be left alone, she lies down somewhere, on the couch, in an armchair, and pretends to be asleep. We called it her possum game. She could lie there for hours, motionless, eyes closed, until someone shook her. Then she'd flinch, open her eyes, and mumble something like, "Leave me alone." It was her oddity. But now it's been going on too long. It's been a week since she fell asleep in the armchair in the living room. Her eyes are open, cloudy, glassy, with a thin whitish film that appeared by the 3rd day. Her skin, it's not just pale anymore. It's grayish white with purple splotches spreading across her neck and cheeks like ink spilled on blotting paper. Her body has swollen, straining the ridiculous panda costume she put on last Monday. I saw a fly, fat, black, with glossy wings, land on her eyeball. It buzzed, crawled, then froze as if it laid something there. I watched, unable to look away, transfixed. Lily didn't move, didn't blink, didn't shoo it away. She just lay there, staring into nothingness. She smells. Not just bad, it's the smell of death. Rotting flesh, sickly sweet and suffocating, so thick it feels tangible. The panda costume, once soft and cozy, is now saturated with this stench. The fabric has darkened, sticking to her skin in places, with damp patches under her armpits and across her chest. I'm certain she died last Monday. But Jess, Miguel, and Dane act like nothing's wrong. They say I'm imagining it, that Lily's just pretending, that I'm exaggerating. But how is that possible? How can 3 people look at a decomposing corpse and call it alive? Is this some experiment, a curse, or am I truly losing my grip on reality? Right now, I'm sitting on the couch in the living room, writing this. Across from me is Lily. She's still in that armchair where I'm sure she died. Her head is tilted slightly to the side, her mouth ajar, and something dark and thick, like old blood, trickles from the corner of her lips. The armchair is soaked with that smell. The upholstery has darkened, and the fabric under her arms is starting to tear, as if the flesh beneath the panda costume is pressing too hard. I look at her and wait. For what? For her to get up? For someone to finally admit the truth? But nothing happens. Just silence and that smell. It all began last Sunday. We hit a cat. Not on purpose, of course, but it happened. We were driving home late at night. We'd all had a bit to drink. A couple of beers, some whiskey, nothing major, but enough to make the world feel blurry. I was behind the wheel. Dane sat beside me, and Jess, Miguel, and Lily were crammed in the back, laughing at some nonsense. The road was narrow, dark, lined with tall trees humming in the wind. Then, thud. a dull, heavy impact that jolted the car. I slammed on the brakes so hard everyone lurched forward. A black cat, small with glowing yellow eyes, lay on the asphalt, still, its neck twisted unnaturally. That's when an old woman emerged from the house across the street. She appeared out of nowhere, hunched, dressed in a long black gown, her hair a tangled web. When she saw the cat, she screamed, a piercing, almost inhuman sound. Her voice cut through the air like a rusty blade. Lily, leaning out the window, shouted at her, "You should have kept your damn thing inside instead of letting it run under our wheels." The woman fell silent. Her eyes, murky, milky like a blind person's, fixed on us. She raised a bony hand, its long yellow nails glinting, and muttered something. The words were strange, guttural, like the hiss of wind through dead branches. We laughed, called her crazy, and drove off. But I saw her watching us as we left, and it seemed her lips kept moving, even after we rounded the corner. The next day, Monday, I woke up early. Lily was in the living room. She was alone, wrapped in her silly panda costume, the hood pulled over her eyes. I said, "Good morning." She didn't answer, just sat there, staring into space. I figured she was playing possum again and went to the kitchen. When I got back from work, she was still there, in the same position. Hands on the armrests, legs stretched out, eyes open. I asked, "Lily, you okay?" Miguel, sprawled on the couch with a controller, grumbled, "She's sick. Leave her alone." I shrugged and went to my room. But something was off. Her gaze, it didn't move, didn't follow me. It was lifeless. She didn't get up the next day, or the day after. By Wednesday, the smell was unbearable. I tried talking to Jess. "Don't you smell it? She's rotting." Jess looked at me like I was an idiot. "It's just a cold. She'll get better. Stop scaring her." Scaring her. I stared at Lily, searching for the slightest sign of life. Nothing. Just a fly buzzing over her face. By Friday, her skin started peeling. I saw something moving under the panda costume, tiny white larvae squirming in the folds of fabric. But when I pointed it out to Miguel, he just winced and said, "She's upset about that cat. Give her time." They started, putting her on display. Saturday morning, I found her at the kitchen table. Someone had propped her up there, her head tilted back, staring at the ceiling. Jess set a bowl of cereal in front of her, like she could eat it. "Good morning, Lily," she chirped. I nearly screamed. Her mouth hung open, and the smell wafted out, thick, choking. Miguel and Dane sat nearby, breathing through their mouths, avoiding her gaze. I asked, "You seriously don't see she's dead?" They exchanged glances. "You're being dramatic," Dane snapped. Then they kept talking to her, as if she were answering. I called the police, told them we needed to check on Lily. My roommates tried to shoo them away, but I insisted. The officers approached the armchair where she lay. By then, the upholstery was saturated with a sticky black ooze dripping onto the floor. They asked, "Miss, are you okay?" Lily didn't move. One of them leaned in, breathed in that stench, and smiled. "She's fine, just resting." I stared, incredulous. Jess pulled me aside and hissed, "You've only made it worse. Stop meddling." A few more days passed. The smell grew unbearable. Her body was decomposing before my eyes, skin sloughing off in strips, eyes sunken, the panda costume crusted with larvae and filth. I tried talking to my roommates, told them it was a curse, that the old woman had hexed us. They looked at me like I was insane, but I saw Miguel pale when I mentioned the smell. Later, I overheard him whispering to Dane, "It stinks here, but Jess says it's normal. Jess silenced them with a glare. I couldn't take it anymore. Last night, I wrapped Lily in a blanket, avoiding her face, and drove her to the forest. There, by the tall cliffs where the wind howls like a wail from beyond, I pushed her body over the edge. I heard a dull thud against the rocks. Then silence. Back home, I scrubbed the armchair, threw it outside, and collapsed into bed, hoping the nightmare was over. This morning, Jess had a meltdown. "Where's Lily?" she screamed, choking on tears. I said she'd left. Jess called me a liar and stormed out to look for her. Miguel, though, seemed relieved. "Finally, I can breathe," he muttered. "She needs help, but not here." I said nothing. Then, I noticed Dane. He was on the couch next to Miguel, controller in hand, but he wasn't playing. His eyes, cloudy like Lily's, stared into nothing. His hands rested limp. Miguel kept talking to him, but Dane didn't respond. I stepped closer. His skin was cold, gray, dead. Yet Miguel went on. "Come on, man, move, you're losing." The curse isn't gone. It's moved to Dane. And it seems it's coming for all of us. Why do I see the truth? Why am I the only one who knows they're dead? Or maybe the curse is in me too, and I just don't realize I've been dead all along.